The morning had started with a strange heaviness in the air, the kind that made Claire pause halfway down the stairs, one hand resting on the banister as she tried to understand the unease pooling in her chest. At first, she thought it was just the pregnancy. She was already 37 weeks along, and every step felt like her body was reminding her to move slower, breathe deeper, stay steady. But this was different. There was a stiffness in the house, an unfamiliar silence that didn't belong to the place she had spent the last 4 years trying to make into a home. The knock came before she reached the bottom step. Hard. Official. The kind of knock people did not ignore. She flinched at the sound, gripping the railing as if the house itself had shuddered beneath her. For a moment she hoped, it was Ethan. Maybe he had come home early. Maybe he'd finally decided to talk to her after the cold, clipped text messages of the last week. But deep down she knew it wasn't him. Ethan never knocked. He had a key. And more importantly, he hadn't really come home in months. Not in the way that mattered. Another knock, 3 sharp raps. She forced herself forward. When she opened the door, the last thing she expected to see was a man in a city-issued vest holding a clipboard, flanked by 2 uniformed officers. Behind them, a moving truck idled at the curb, engine rumbling like thunder gathering in the distance. Mrs. Hale? The man asked, not unkindly, but with the detached efficiency of someone who delivered bad news for a living. Her throat tightened. Yes. We're here to carry out the eviction order. The words disintegrated something inside her. She blinked, stunned, confused. Eviction. That has to be a mistake. My husband, Ethan, he owns this house. The officer stepped forward slightly, though his voice remained level. Ma'am, the property was transferred 3 weeks ago. The new owner has issued removal. Transferred. Removal. Words that made no sense. Words that felt like they belonged in someone else's nightmare. I don't. Her voice cracked. No one told me anything. The man with the clipboard shifted uneasily, glancing at her belly. Ma'am, you weren't notified. Her eyes burned. No. She didn't know if it was fear or betrayal burning under her ribs, but suddenly the ground tilted. She reached for the doorframe to steady herself. The baby kicked, as if sensing her distress. Ma'am, one of the officers said, more gently now, is there someone we can call? She opened her mouth to say Ethan, but the name dissolved before it reached her tongue. He wouldn't answer. He rarely did lately. The last meaningful thing he'd said to her was that he needed space, which had turned into entire nights away, then days, then weeks spent at different hotels for work. At least that was the lie he hadn't bothered polishing. Still gripping the frame, she leaned against the door. Please, she whispered. There's a mistake. Can't you wait? Can't you check? We did, the clipboard man said quietly. Everything is filed and processed. I'm sorry. Her pulse pounded thickly in her ears. Eviction. How could they be evicting her from her own home? From the home Ethan promised would be their forever place, the home he said they would raise a family in. None of it was making sense. Her phone buzzed suddenly from the kitchen counter. For a second, hope flared. Maybe Ethan was finally calling. Maybe he would explain everything, maybe he would fix it. She hurried inside to grab it, the officers waiting by the doorway out of courtesy rather than obligation. But the call wasn't from Ethan. It was from a friend, Lila, her voice tight with disbelief the moment Claire answered. Claire, are you seeing this? Seeing what? Claire snapped, panic sharpening her tone. Ethan. He's live streaming. Right now. With. Lila hesitated, as if reluctant to land the final blow. With a woman. And, Claire, it looks like a hotel suite. He just popped champagne. The room went numb. All sound seemed to drain away except her own uneven breathing. A sick chill rippled down her spine. Are you sure? I'm so sorry, Lila whispered. I wouldn't tell you if I wasn't. He's celebrating something. Something about freedom. Claire, don't watch it. But curiosity born from heartbreak is a violent force. Claire hung up and opened the app with trembling fingers. And there he was. Ethan. Her husband. The man who had vowed to love her, protect her, build a life with her. Laughing. Smiling wider than she'd seen him smile in a year. His arm wrapped around a young woman in a silk robe. Bottles on the table. Music playing. Comments flooding the screen about how hot they looked together. And then, her stomach lurched. He raised his glass and said, finally free. New beginnings, right babe? The woman giggled and kissed him. Claire's vision blurred. A sharp pain shot through her abdomen and she gasped, hand flying to her stomach. The officer stepped inside then, concern overriding protocol. Ma'am, are you alright? She wasn't. She knew it instantly. A warm gush flooded down her legs, soaking through the thin fabric of her pajama pants. The pain hit again, sharper, deeper, stealing her breath. My water, she stammered, the phone slipping from her hand. My water just broke. The clipboard man cursed under his breath. Call an ambulance. I'm dialing, one officer said, already speaking urgently into his radio. Claire clutched her belly, doubled over as another contraction tore through her. She wasn't ready. The baby wasn't supposed to come today. Not like this. Not on the floor of a house she was being thrown out of. The officers guided her gently to the couch, speaking calmly, trying to keep her conscious, but their voices grew faint. All she could think about was Ethan's smile on the screen. His arm around another woman. His toast to new beginnings. And the unbearable realization that he had known. He had known this eviction was coming. He had signed the papers. He had planned a celebration while she was left to face the wreckage, pregnant, alone, heart splintering with every contraction. Her breath hitched, a broken, helpless sound. He did this, she whispered. He knew. The officer bent beside her. Don't talk, ma'am. Help is on the way. Just breathe. Breathe. But the house around her was collapsing, and the life she thought she had was unraveling faster than she could hold on to it. The ambulance sirens wailed in the distance as the first tear slipped down her cheek. And a new contraction tore through her. The cold wind slapped against her cheeks as she steadied herself on the uneven pavement, one hand on the wall, the other wrapped protectively around her belly. The contractions were coming faster now, sharper, tighter, stealing her breath for a few seconds each time. Maya tried to focus, to count, to remember everything the doctor had told her, but her mind was a storm. The echo of the eviction officer's voice still rang in her ears, mixing with the distant cheers and laughter coming from a phone screen held up by her husband somewhere miles away. He was streaming, laughing, smiling with another woman in his arms. While she was here, alone, fighting for air as her body prepared to bring their child into the world. The baby kicked hard, almost as if urging her to move, and Maya forced her shaking legs to carry her down the sidewalk. Every step sent a ripple of pain up her spine. Cars passed, people walked by, but no one stopped. Some glanced, some stared, but they all kept moving. Just another pregnant woman having a difficult day, nothing worth pausing for. Her phone buzzed again. She didn't want to look. She knew what it was. Notifications from the livestream. Updates. Comments. The spectacle her husband was making of their lives. She'd muted everything earlier, but the vibrations broke through anyway, insistent and angry. She needed help. She needed to breathe. She needed this nightmare to stop. Maya reached the end of the block and leaned against a lamppost, sweat trickling down her back despite the cold air. She closed her eyes for a moment, hoping, begging, for the pain to slow. When it didn't, she fumbled for her phone and dialed the only number she could think of. It rang once, twice. Then a familiar voice answered, hesitant but warm. Maya, are you okay? Her throat tightened. Lena, I need help. I think the baby's coming. And they threw me out. Everything is, please, can you? I'm on my way, Lena said immediately, no hesitation, just urgency. Stay where you are. I'll get you to a hospital. I'm coming. The line cut, and Maya let out a trembling breath. Relief didn't wash over her. Not yet, but there was a flicker of something steadier in her chest. Maybe she wasn't completely alone after all. Across the city, the husband, Elias, tilted the camera to catch a better angle of the champagne he was pouring. The comments rolled in faster than he could read them, a stream of emojis, congratulations, jokes, and gossip. His mistress, Serena, leaned in and whispered something in his ear, her lips brushing his skin as she laughed into the camera. Elias flashed his perfect, rehearsed smile. Guys, relax, he said, adjusting his designer jacket. We're celebrating a little business victory tonight. Big things coming. Huge things. But the chat wasn't reacting the same way it had been earlier. A different kind of message was starting to pop up, sporadic at first, then relentless. Where's your wife? Is it true she's being evicted? Someone saw her crying outside your house. Bro, her water broke. Dude, what is wrong with you? Elias's smile faltered. Serena blinked, confused. Just trolls, Elias muttered, forcing a laugh. Ignore them. But the comments didn't stop. She's on the street. People are posting videos. You should go help her. This is messed up. His jaw tightened. End it, he snapped at Serena. She stared at him. What? Why? We're getting thousands of viewers. End the stream. She tapped the screen reluctantly, and the live broadcast went dark. But the silence it left behind was suddenly suffocating. Dash dash dash. Lena's car screeched to a stop in front of Maya just as another contraction hit, and Maya nearly crumpled. Lena ran out, catching her under the arms, whispering reassurance as she helped her into the back seat. You're okay. I've got you. Hold on, Lena said, climbing in beside her as the car sped toward the hospital. Maya gripped her friend's hand, her nails digging into the skin. I didn't know where else to go. You called me, Lena replied gently, brushing Maya's hair from her forehead. That's all that matters. Maya tried to blink away the tears, but they spilled over anyway. I didn't think he'd actually let them throw me out. I thought, after everything, we were still something. Lena's expression tightened, but her voice stayed soft. You deserved better long before today. Just focus on breathing for now. We're almost there. But Maya couldn't stop thinking. Couldn't stop replaying every choice she'd made. Every warning she'd ignored. Every moment she'd tried to hold a marriage together that had already fallen apart. Her breath hitched as she remembered the moment the eviction officers stepped into the living room, polite, professional, yet unmoved by her pleas. They had a court order. They had to follow it. She'd tried calling Elias then, thinking he would answer, thinking he would show up, thinking he would care. And all the while, he'd been performing for the camera. Celebrating. Drinking. Holding another woman. Her heart clenched harder than the contraction. Lena, she whispered, what if something happens to the baby? Nothing is going to happen, Lena said firmly. We're getting you help. You're strong. Your baby's strong. Just hold on for me a little longer, okay? Maya nodded weakly, tears blurring the passing streetlights. Dash dash dash. Back in the penthouse, Elias scrolled through social media with increasing panic. The videos were everywhere, neighbors recording Maya being forced out, her face pale and distraught, one hand clutching her belly as she begged the officers to wait. The top comment under one viral clip read, "She's in labor, you monster." His stomach dropped. No, no, no. This couldn't be happening. He'd told the staff to handle everything discreetly. He'd thought she would have left before anyone arrived. He hadn't wanted a scene. Serena touched his arm. Elias, what are you going to do? He didn't answer. His mind buzzed, but not with remorse, more with fear. Fear of public backlash. Fear of headlines. Fear of deals falling apart. Everything he'd worked for could crumble if this story got out of control. He grabbed his keys. Dash dash dash. At the hospital, nurses surrounded Maya as Lena held her hand, whispering encouragement. The contractions were close now, too close. A doctor rushed in, asking questions Maya could barely answer through gritted teeth. You're doing so well, Lena said, voice soothing despite the chaos around them. You're almost there. Just keep going. Another contraction tore through her, and Maya cried out, her whole body shaking. But even through the pain, one thought remained crystal clear. She would bring this child into the world on her own strength. Not his name. Not his money. Not his image. Hers. And for the first time since everything began, she felt something unexpected rise within her, a quiet, fierce determination. This was the moment her life would change. Not because he abandoned her. But because she survived anyway.